A couple years ago, I made an absolutely terrible decision. I decided I was gonna run a half marathon. Okay, it was horrible. Some of you were like, only a half? How come it wasn't a full? I already told you it was a horrible decision, all right? Those of you that run full marathons for fun, there's something wrong with you, all right? Something wrong. But I got another problem. When I decided to do something, I wanna be the best at it. So I didn't wanna just run this half marathon. I wanted to win. I wanted to be the best in my age group. And so I needed to train. I didn't wake up one day and go, okay, I got a half marathon tomorrow. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna do something really big tomorrow. It's a process. I was working into it. I was training. I was building up to it so that when I did it and the big race was in front of me, I could handle it. I could do it. All right, forgiveness is 1,000% necessary in every single relationship. Every relationship that you have, there will be a point where forgiveness is necessary. And some of those forgiveness opportunities are really big. They're big ones. And what you can't do is just wake up one day and handle a really big one. You have to become forgivingly fit. You have to be working towards so that when those situations arise, you're ready. The other day, my daughter, she had some Skittles and she was eating her Skittles and I go over and I'm like, all right, come on, pay up. Can Dad have some Skittles? And so she's like, yeah, of course. And so she gives me one Skittle. One Skittle. Who eats one Skittle? You're a psychopath if you only eat one Skittle. I'm like, come on now, one Skittle? All right, but that's exactly what we do with God. All right, we have everything. We have a whole pack and we go, God, here's your one Skittle. You happy now? God, I'm gonna withhold everything else. Here's the one thing I'm gonna give you. And we become a people of just giving God one thing and holding the rest for ourselves instead of understanding that God's the one who gave you everything to start with. It's not yours, it's his. And when we get to a place where we say, I'm not willing to withhold anything, it's all yours. God says, listen, Abraham, you have shown your devotion to me and your worship to me because you did not withhold anything. It reminds me of the pointless dishes. You know those dishes that you registered for when you registered for your wedding and they gave them to you, but now they just sit on a shelf, right? Like they're too fancy and they just sit there and you never actually use them. They're just super pointless, right? All the guys in here are like, yeah, I know. And all the ladies are like, but they're beautiful, okay? But they just sit there, and some of you even have a little case for them, right? They sit on this display case and they're out there. And every once in a while, the pointless dishes get a little dirty, so you come with your little duster and you dust off the dishes because they gotta be pretty. The pointless dishes gotta be pretty, right? So you dust off the pointless dishes. But if you were ever to take one down and look inside, there's like 3 generations of dust bunnies living in there, you know what I'm saying? Like you would never actually use it, and that's why you just put it on the shelf and make it look pretty. Like that's what Jesus is talking about here. We understand that the outside needs to look pretty. We understand that polishing the outside is what we want to do because when we appear to other people like we have it together, then we've done our job. As long as we look good. But on the inside, it's filthy. On the inside, it's dirty. See, that's us. A lot of times we're the pointless dishes. We want to make sure it looks good. But on the inside, it's filthy. See, how many of you know it's a lot easier to go through an open door than a closed door? Okay, let's be honest. We're in church right now. Let's be honest. How many of you ever ran into a closed door? Okay, again, let's be honest. How many of you ever laughed at someone who's ran into a closed door? Y'all are jerks, all right? You're jerks. I was at my grandma's house and my family was over. I have a lot of cousins. I have a lot of aunts and uncles and they're all over there and we're out on the grass. And for some reason, I felt it was necessary to enter the house on a dead sprint. I don't know why I felt that. That was not the Holy Spirit nudging me, but I decided to run. And as I'm running on a dead sprint, I also felt it was necessary to jump as I went over the door threshold. And so as I'm in the air in my perfect leap, like I was like prima ballerina here, I was leaping perfectly. And I thought to myself, this might not have been a good idea. And then I collided with the door and my suspicions were confirmed. It was not a very good idea. Luckily, it was not the glass door closed, which is good because my face wouldn't be as pretty as it is now if that were the case. But it was the screen door. So I'm like, I'm really glad this is the screen until I realized that when you hit a screen door at full speed, it acts like a trampoline as it throws you backwards. So now I'm flying through the air backwards thinking this was really not a good idea. And then I hit the ground to a chorus of laughter from everyone around me. They were jerks like you guys. It's a lot easier to go through an open door than it is to go through a closed door. When we're sharing our faith, when we're inviting someone to church, we want to go through an open door. We need to look, pray, and listen for open doors. But who am I? I think this is the main question that keeps people from living the life that they were created for in Jesus. Because we start asking this question based off of our past, and we know our past, and we go, but God, listen, I know you called, but you probably got the wrong number, God, because you don't know what I did. Listen, God doesn't get the wrong number. God doesn't mess up. God doesn't call the wrong people. But we start questioning it based on our past, and we go, but listen, God, you don't know what I have done. You don't know how broken I am. You don't know my past. You don't know what I've done, and you don't know what was done to me, and you don't know how messed up I am. And so, God, I just can't do it. Why would you call me, God? And we start questioning based on our past. We start questioning based on the fact that inside we don't feel like we're enough. We go, God, but I'm just not good enough. I just don't have the skills for it. And even though you're calling, God, you got the wrong person. Why me? And we start questioning this instead of realizing who you are. And we default to I'm not enough when you realize that your father said something different. And when God looked at you, he said, you are worth me dying for. And you are chosen, and you are equipped, and you are grabbed by the Holy Spirit for my purpose. And I will equip you, and I will send you because you are more than conquerors in him. Come on, church, let's go. For a lot of you, maybe there's a stigma for you when it comes to church. Because you've gone to a church before that didn't act like Jesus. Listen, I want to apologize on behalf of Christians if you've been hurt by a church, which is honestly, if you've been going for any amount of time, it's every single one of you. You've been hurt by the church because the church is full of people and people are messed up. And the church, a lot of times people want to put themselves in the place of God and they want to judge people and they want to say, listen, you can't look this way, you can't act this way, you can't be this. And we tell people that they're not good enough. And what happens is when people come to church, instead of experiencing God, they experience people. That's not okay. And if that's you and you're going, man, I just don't think church is for me. Maybe you just came in here today going, I still don't feel like I belong. I feel like I'm an outcast. I feel like I shouldn't even be here because you've been told before that you're not good enough. I want you to listen to Jesus' words here in Mark 2. Jesus said to them, it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I, meaning Jesus, I have not come to call the righteous. That's not why he's here. That's not why Jesus showed up. But sinners. That's who he came for. Jesus said it himself. The reason why the church exists is for people who are messed up. Listen, that's good news for you and that's good news for me. That's good news. You know what that means for us? That means you can't outrun God. You know what that means for us? That means you can't out-sin his grace. Oh, some of you have tried. Some of you have tried. You can't do it. You can't out-sin his grace. Actually, you know what that means for you? That means that you can't do anything to make Jesus not absolutely crazy in love with you. I always think it's so funny when someone says that they have a boring testimony. When people, I have a boring testimony. Listen, going from death into life, Jesus changing your life from a course headed to hell and separation from God forever to life in his presence for eternity, that is not boring. There is nothing boring about that, church. That is life change that is worth celebrating no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. We all get to a place where we make sure that the outside is what we want people to see, and we get in our life groups and we share maybe just a little bit, and we say the right things and we do the right things and we paint a picture of what we want people to see. And maybe we're really skilled at it, so we say a little bit of the negative things and we go, I'll share a little bit of the bad stuff, but not all of it because I want you to still see me in the right way. And then when you fail and when you fall and then when things don't work out, everyone goes, I didn't see that coming, because all they saw was a mask instead of the real you. When we start being more focused on religion than relationship, we start valuing the outward instead of the inward. When your joy is situational, you're always in chase of it. You're always chasing joy when it's dependent on your situation, and you go, man, if I just put myself in the right situation, if I just go to the right website, if I just drink the right thing, if I just eat the right thing, if I just try this, if I just change my situation, then I will find joy. But we're always chasing it then because your situation's always changing. But when joy is not connected to your situation, you're able to truly live in joy. If joy is a fruit of the Spirit, it is something then that you produce. And so we have to look at ourselves and go, listen, if my hope is in something unfailing, then I become the healthy tree that produces the fruit, which is joy. If I am in the Spirit, and my hope is in his unfailing love, then I produce joy. It's something that you produce. It's something that happens. It's not just something that you go, I'm just going to try to fake it in this moment. You can't fake joy. You produce joy when you know where your hope is. My youngest daughter, she's 9 months old now, and she is the cutest thing in the world. Like there's nothing cuter than her. Can you tell she has dad wrapped around her finger? Can you tell? She's so cute, and she's in this phase right now where she is pulling herself up and standing on everything, right? She's standing on the edge of the couch, everywhere, right? You can always tell an experienced parent that has multiple kids or someone that's a new parent, because a new parent's like, oh my gosh, they're about to walk. And I'm like pushing her down. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for the tornado that's about to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about to get wild up in here. But here's why she's pulling herself up. She's pulling herself up and standing on everything because you have to stand before you can walk. You have to stand before you can walk. And for a lot of you, you're going through situations and you've just heard this over and over. You just got to walk in faith. You just got to walk in faith. You just got to walk in faith. But listen to me, church. Before you can walk in faith, first you have to stand in grace. You have to stand in his grace. You have to stand in his restoration. You have to allow what Jesus came for to become a reality in your life, and you have to allow his grace to pour over you before you can continue to walk in faith.